We are back with another edition of the Quarantinecast. I've been off. I haven't done an interview in like 2 weeks. It's weird getting back into these things, but I am joined by John Kunneman, who makes his pro debut in just a little over a week. First things first, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm feeling good. Weight's on point. Training is going very well, so I'm happy. Everything's going fantastic.
I'm up in Canada, so right now, like everything up here is just ridiculous. You can't get training in. You're fortunate. You're there at one of the biggest gyms in the world. What's training been like for you the past year and a half or so?
Man, it's been fantastic. So I came to Jackson Wink. I was gonna have a fight with LFA last summer. Ended up not happening, but I came here to do a camp. And my coach from back home in Nebraska trained at Jackson Wink for a long time, and so he knew Greg and Wink and got me set up down there. And the culture, the vibe, the training partners, everything just felt perfect for me. So I came out here, and man, I'll tell you what, the last year I've improved more than in my whole entire time training, and it's just been so much like knowledge, training partners, and everything has just been. I mean, it's the perfect mix for building a professional fighter. I mean, everything you can ask for is here. There's no missing parts, and that's what exactly I need.
When you make a jump to a gym like that, I can only imagine. I mean, I go to just a local gym, but I remember I bumped into TJ Grant and I freaked out. So when you're there and you're looking to your right,
Yeah,
you see John Jones. You look to your
yeah.
left, you see Holly Holm. Um, at what point does the fanboy of you, like, does that go away, or do you still fanboy?
I mean, it's funny because I remember I used to watch John. I remember when he fought Shogun, and I was 13 years old. I'm a little kid watching this fight, and now it's crazy to be on the mats with him. And it's like you see that, and you see the people that you've watched. I remember I was 15, 16 years old when Holly knocked out Ronda, and it's like we go out, and now I'm training with these people, and I'm learning from them, and I get to pick up their knowledge, and it's sometimes it's a little surreal. It's a little bit like, wow, that's I can't believe that's happening. But also half it, it's like I know it was meant to happen because I know the work I've put in, and I know that this is part of the journey, and I'm going to be surrounding myself with the best people. So it's kind of both. Like you get the fanboy, and some of it's like you think to yourself like, wow, I'm really grappling with John Jones right now, or I'm training with Holly, whoever it is, and then half of it's like I expected this. I really knew this was meant to be part of my journey.
You have a very strong wrestling background. When you went there, what was the hardest part to incorporate? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've gotten other work in, but when you go there and you're dealing with Holly's striking or John Jones's submissions, what was the hardest element to incorporate into your game?
Kind of a different answer. The big thing that I didn't expect was the altitude here. Like that's what got me, man. The first week, because I came out here and I train, like training's my life. I all I do is train, and it's like I came out here trying to do like 10 sessions, and the altitude just was like your first week. It's over 5,000 feet here. It's like 5,300. That was super tough, but I think the everyone who's accustomed to the altitude and you're not, and you're going hard, and then you burn out, and you're just like, man, that hits you. That was the big thing that caught me off guard. First off, for sure.
I guess it's better to get that now than in the middle of a
Yeah,
fight.
yeah, for sure, definitely.
So you've had a little bit of a layoff with the pandemic. You said you were supposed to fight for the LFA last summer.
Yeah,
What's been the main reason for the layoff? Was it just inability to find a fight?
yeah. COVID made things tough for sure. Like, fights falling through, not being able to get opponents has been huge. I think with COVID, a lot more people have been reluctant to take fights because fights are harder to come by. And so it's just with all that combined, just trying to find a fight has been. I mean, the search we've been. I mean, I've been asking my old manager so many times, hey, can I get a fight? Can I get a fight? Can I get it? We just couldn't find anything. And now that things seem to be opening up and heading on the right path to be back to normal, I think we'll be able to start getting fights frequently again.
It's not often you see guys go pro with 4 fights. A lot of states don't even allow it. A lot of states want you to have 5, 6, some even 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
What went behind the decision to go pro so early? I mean, you're still only 22.
Yeah, it was all Greg and Wink. talked to Greg, and we were looking at some amateur fights back home in Nebraska and just wherever we could find. And Greg and Wink said, no, you're ready to turn pro right away. You're ready. And for a second I was a little unsure. I was like, it took me a second to be like, am I ready? But I know Greg Jackson's been in this game literally longer than I've been alive, and he knows. I trust him, and he said, you're ready, and it wasn't even a second thought for him. And so if he feels confident in my abilities to be turn pro and fight at that level, I'm ready.
You're going up to Alaska. Have you been to Alaska before?
Yeah. No, never. Not. I've never been to Anchorage, and man, I've never been anywhere this far away and up north. It's just like a totally different place. Like it doesn't even, you don't even think about Alaska really. It's like I'm used to people not even, I'm from Nebraska, so everyone looks at Nebraska, it's a flyover state. I never think about Alaska like, oh, let me go to Alaska. So coming here is going to be, it's a cool environment, and I'm excited because I've never been somewhere like Alaska.
You're facing Devin Paulson. He's a 4-fight pro. He has 4 fights as a pro. What's your thoughts on the matchup? And do you think that the 4 fights is going to be a factor? Like, do you feel like he has experience advantage?
I mean, experience is experience, but you look at, like, for one example, you look at Aaron Pico, one of my training partners out here at Jackson's. He fought a guy with 9 fights for his pro debut, and that was his MMA debut, not even just his pro debut. So it's like, I trust in, I haven't fought in a year and some change, but I trust in my abilities to take me there. I'm training with some of the best fighters in the world. And I'm training every day. So I think experience, yeah, it has a factor for sure, but I also think who you're training with and mat time has a lot of experience. And I've been on the mats for a long time, grinding, this last year and a half really for this date. So the experience matters, but I think also preparation and your training is really the biggest key in my opinion.
It's also an outdoor venue. Is that something that excites you? And have you ever competed outside?
Never. No, I've never competed outside. So that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. It's on Fight Pass. Does that excite you, knowing that you're going to be able to watch from your family back home?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's honestly one of the bigger reasons why I was very excited to take this fight, for sure.
I know you're still 22 and you don't want to look too far into your future. You don't want to look past Devin Paulson. But when you look ahead to the next couple of years, do you want to stay busy to make up for lost time, or are you okay with like easing yourself into it?
I mean, honestly, like, I don't even look at this like year layoff as like a layoff. I mean, yeah, I haven't competed in a year in a little bit, but it's like the way I see it is the amount of training I've gotten. Like if I fought myself from the version, when I was preparing my last fight, it wouldn't even be a close fight. I would destroy that version of myself. So it's like the amount of like levels, they say there's levels to this game. I feel like the amount of levels that I've improved on and increased, in my skill set is night and day. So yeah, it's nice. It would be nice, to have had a couple skill sets improved through my training, and that's the most important factor. So I mean, yeah, I'd like to take fights, but honestly, I'm just here to whatever fights that I feel are right to take me on to the next step in my journey and get into the UFC.
You're also dropping down in weight. You've competed up as at light heavyweight. This fight's at a catch weight of 180, but you want to go down to 170. What's the reason for dropping down weight class?
I just feel like, I mean, I train with a lot of 70ers, and I feel like that's probably the body type that fits best for me. And I think I can be a lot stronger than a lot of these guys. And I think at 185, like I only walk around at like 198 to 202. So it's like that. It's not really much of a weight cut to 85, and I can diet down and get my walk around weight to like 190, and 20 pounds down to 70s not bad. So I just think 70s more for my body style. I'm very more of a dense kind of stockier build, and I think that cutting down to 70 just fits my style and how I like to fight a little bit better.
Speaking of your build and your fight style, is there anybody that you kind of look at, whether it's UFC, Bellator, they don't even have to be fighting anymore, that you're like, that's probably the guy that I fight most similar to?
I've been told I fight a lot like the guy he fought yesterday, Fazayev and Bilal Muhammad. Both those guys are two people that people tell me like that's kind of similar to my style. I like both those guys, so I'll take that as a compliment. But really, I mean, I think there's things I pick from everybody. You know, I don't have a style similar to Conor McGregor, but I pick a lot of things from him. You know, I pick a lot of things from guys like TJ Dillashaw, Khabib, and Usman, and John Jones. You know, John Jones is a completely different body style than me, but you know, I still pick things from him. So I'm people tell me I'm kind of like Bilal Muhammad and Fazayev, you know, but I really feel like I want to build my own style and pick and take things from, you know, different fighters.
One question I like to ask, because everyone's different. You know, Rich Franklin was a teacher. Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz would be fighting no matter what. What's your journey to mixed martial arts? How did you end up finding the sport?
Man, I've always been my fight nickname's Tiger, and that was always my nickname as a kid. And you know, I was always the kid in school in scraps and fights. I was like, yeah, I've actually I have a saved tweet somewhere from people at school saying like, I think we need to count how many times John's been in a fight, and this was from like, you know, seventh, eighth grade, you know. So I've always been something. I've always been kind of a scrappy kid, and I've always been the kid that loved to fight. And I think it just kind of came natural. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. That was like a big thing. I wanted to test myself and do things that were very difficult. You know what I mean? I wanted to put myself through some of the hardest training I could. And, you know, obviously as a type 1 diabetic, I'm not able to be a Navy SEAL. So I had, you know, to find something else, and MMA just kind of fell into that mix perfectly.
That's actually, I think there's a couple other fighters that are type 1 diabetics. What's been the hardest part of being a diabetic, as well as weight cutting and training and all that stuff?
The hardest part is when your blood sugar goes low or high during training. Because if it's low, like you literally just feel like you want to like pass out, and you get like the like shaky like hands and legs. You literally can't even train. So trying to manage your blood sugar in while you're training full time is 100% the hardest thing. Like that alone is a fight in itself, and trying to, you know, make sure, because I got to time my meals and my insulin dosages properly, and trying to figure all that out while, you know, training, you know, several hours a day is so difficult. But I think experience helps, you know, and make that a little bit easier. But definitely just trying to balance your blood sugar, avoiding lows and high blood sugars, you know, during training is definitely the hardest part.
And then we'll end on this. Is there anybody you want to thank before we end it?
I just want to thank all my coaches. You know, without these guys, you know, I wouldn't be anywhere today. Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn, Alex Sickpang Pondam, even my coach back home, Ryan Jensen. You know, without him, I wouldn't have even been to Jackson Wink. You know, if he would have never, during his UFC career, if he would have never did his camps here, I would have never had the opportunity to get to know Greg and Wink, Coach Alex, and even the general manager at Jackson Wink, Misha. You know, he's been a life changer and getting me set up and getting me opportunities out here, and taking care of me and making sure things are going properly for me out here. He's kind of been like I call him Uncle Misha. He's kind of like my little guy's guardian angel out here. So I know I'm really all the coaches and the staff at Jackson Wink. These guys have been, I mean, they've been literally, they welcomed me with open arms like family the day I got here, and that to me is, I'll always remember that for sure.